Hello, this is Uncle Sam here. This is a continuation of our lesson on article writing or writing articles for publication. Let's continue to learn. So, welcome back. If you missed the previous lesson on article writing, I'll leave a link below in the description for you to get that video because we are not going back to look at it. But just as a reminder of what we did, we looked at what an article is, we looked at the types of articles. We said we have articles written for school press, we have an article written for the national press. We have an article written for the international press. Then I believe we ended by looking at the features of these articles. We looked at the features of these articles. We also looked at the differences between an article for publication and a letter to the editor. We were able to differentiate it very well. Then we picked each of these types of articles and delved a bit deeper into them. So the purpose of our lesson today is to go over what we did, especially looking at the types of articles. So I have this sample question here which will guide us to practicalize what we learned in the previous lessons. So the question goes that write an article to be published in your school magazine on the causes and effects of indiscipline in your school. Now you take a critical look at the question, you notice that the question is in two folds or three folds. The first is to identify the type of article you are required to write. That is, are you being required to write an article for the school press? Are you being required to write an article for the national press? Are you being required to write an article for the international press? So you have to identify this very well. Per our question, or looking at our question, we can easily identify that we are being required to write an article for the school press. We are being required to write an article for the school press. So this is very important. Then also we are being asked to identify the causes of indiscipline and the effects of indiscipline. The causes of indiscipline in our school and the effects of indiscipline in our school. So this should be part of our article writing or our article writing for publication in school magazine. So let's look at our heading or our title. I have three variations of headings or titles here. The first is the rise of indiscipline in St. John's Grammar School. The rise of indiscipline in St. John's Grammar School. The second one is why the rise of indiscipline at St. John's Grammar School. Why the rise of indiscipline at St. John's Grammar School. And the third example is indiscipline in our societies today. The story of St. John's Grammar School. Indiscipline in our societies today. The story of St. John's Grammar School. So take a critical look at these three variations of the title or heading and ask yourself which of them is catchy enough, which of them will draw people to read our article that we've written for publication. I'll leave that to your own judgment. Then from the introduction title, we move to our introduction. Then the introduction, I have two variations of introductions as well. Remember that the introduction should pre-inform us or pre-inform your readers what your article is going to be about. So the first introduction says that indiscipline has been the talk of town nowadays as the canker has permeated every sphere of society, and St. John's Grammar is not an exception. Indiscipline has been the talk of town nowadays as the canker has permeated every sphere of society, and St. John's Grammar is not an exception. So this is my first introduction. The second one goes like this. The hue and cry of many parents today is the increase of indisciplinary acts in our schools today, and St. John's Grammar is not left out of this fray. The hue and cry of many parents today is the increase of indisciplinary acts in our schools today, and St. John's Grammar is not left out of the fray. So from these two introductions, what I'm simply telling you is that society has come to a realization that there's indiscipline in our schools. And I'm making a point that my school, St. John's Grammar, is not an exception, which means this are incidents of indiscipline at St. John's Grammar School. Now go to the main body of our article. Go to the main body of our article. Remember that articles written for publication or article writing, the body should be able to, it should be coherent. It should be able to lead the reader to understand whatever you are trying to put across. So here I've highlighted three main streams or three main levels you have to write the body of your article. I said you should note down some causes of indiscipline, which is a requirement in the question. Note down some effects of indiscipline in your school, which is also a requirement in the question. And the third one, note down some recommendations to remedy this problem. Though the question has not stated clearly that you should make recommendations or suggest solutions to indiscipline per se, but to show that to go the extra mile or to show that you are a good student, you need to do this very well. You need to do this very well. Then we look at our conclusion. So you can conclude with your recommendations on how this issue can be resolved. So that is one way you can conclude. You can conclude by giving recommendations. You can also give a hypothesis or re-emphasize on the dire consequences of this issue if it's not kept. So there are two ways. You can give a recommendation, you can give a hypothesis. If this is done, this will lead to this, that will lead to that, or you simply re-emphasize that if the issue of indiscipline is not kept in our schools, it's not put to a stop, it's going to have dire consequences in our school. So this is re-emphasizing the need why indiscipline should be stopped in our schools. Then we have the last part, which is the name and short address. Then we have the last part, which is the name and short address. Since this is an article for the school press, you simply end with your full name and short address by using your class as your short address. If you have a subscription or you hold a position in the institution or school, you can put that in brackets below. As you can see, I've done that right here. So, ladies and gentlemen, students, this briefly is the steps to follow when writing an article for publication in a school press or article writing in a school press. In our next lesson, we'll pick writing an article for publication in the national press. We'll look at article writing for the national press. I hope you enjoyed this video, and please, if you have not subscribed to this channel, don't forget to do so, because I know you will not want to miss any future videos. Thank you for watching, and thank you for your time. See you another time.